Hi guys, it's Chloe and welcome back to my channel. But today we're going to talk about the second wheelchair video. So if y'all haven't watched my life update, I highly encourage y'all to watch that first. That way you get a timeline as to what to expect. But I am so excited to give you guys this video because it was a process and stuff. So on that note, we're going to get started. Now, before we really get started, there are some people that have been through this process and know what it's like, and therefore may feel the same outrage and anger that I do. And if you haven't been through this process and stuff, then you may or may not feel outraged and angry at the end of this video, which is okay. But regardless, to protect everybody's mental sanity, including my own, we are going to take a couple of deep breaths. So, breathe in. Breathe in. Okay, now onto the video. So I told my physical medicine rehab doctor I wanted a wheelchair for distance, and we short agreed on a manual foldable wheelchair. But she said that she had no idea how to go about the process in Georgia because I wanted to use my health insurance. And it wasn't Medicaid or Medicare. I am a dependent on my mom's insurance, which I could talk about that later. But anyways, and she knows I see a physical therapist here in Atlanta and wanted me to see my PT back at home to further discuss this and how to best go about the process. So I spoke to my physical therapist, and she said she literally had no idea how to go about the process because it all depended on health insurance. Because she said that some health insurances will make you go through one of their approved vendors, which, spoiler alert, mine did, and some will allow you to go through whatever vendor you want. Now, the best way to describe it is like chickens. Some chickens are confined in a cage and aren't allowed to free roam and do what they want, and others are cage free and are allowed to roam and do whatever they want. She said, regardless, once I find that out, then we can discuss what needs to go in the wheelchair other than myself at our next appointment because I see her twice a week. So I contacted health insurance and everything, and they said that I had to go through one of their approved vendors. So I spoke to my physical therapist and we talked about what needed to be in the wheelchair. So basically detachable leg rest or swing away, and then swing away armrest too, or detachable, whatever I could get. And then I contacted health insurance after my physical therapy visit to get a list of approved vendors, and I'm angry at this part, but it's not the woman's fault because she was just doing her job. So I can't get mad at her. But the woman said that she had a list for my area, but she said that she wanted to contact these people first to be sure that they had a manual foldable wheelchair. So I said, okay. I literally spent 20 minutes on the phone with this chick, only for her to come back and say that she was only able to get a hold of one place. And she said upon doing her research, all the other places she tried to contact were closed on Fridays, and to try to give them a call on Monday. And I thought that was a little odd that most of them were closed on Fridays, especially because it's healthcare. But I decided to go with it. And she said she was going to send me the list of everyone that she contacted. And she wanted me to contact them. I'm like, okay. Come to find out that all the places she contacted except for one were permanently closed. And the one that wasn't closed was the one that she was able to get a hold of. So because of the whole debacle, I contacted them and asked if they took my health insurance, and they said yes. And I asked them what I needed to provide in order for health insurance to cover this. And they said that they needed a demographics, a face-to-face, and a prescription. I'm like, okay. I got my PMR to take care of that, and they sent it away, but a couple days later, I still hadn't heard anything back from the company I was going through. So I gave them a call, and they claimed that they never got the paperwork. And this went back and forth for 3 straight weeks. And finally, I was enraged. So I decided to contact my PMR's office and via patient portal, which my PMR's office does have a phone number you could call, but the nurse assistant said not to call the phone number because they're so busy that they can't answer the phones and that the patient portal is best. I'm like, okay. And I said something along the lines of, hey, it's been 3 weeks and going back and forth like this and they still haven't gotten the paperwork. Can I take care of it? Can you just send the paperwork to me and I'll, send it to them? And the nurse assistant got back to me and she said, Chloe, I'm typically the one to handle all this stuff, but I agree, especially with the problems that we've been having. I said, great. Here's my house address and here's my email. And this was on a Friday. And by Monday, evening, I hadn't heard anything. So I contacted my PMR and said I still haven't gotten paperwork. And no response. And by Wednesday, morning, I just couldn't sleep. And I decided to contact them. I said, hey, I still haven't gotten my paperwork. Is there anything that I need to do on my end to absolutely be sure that this gets taken care of? And or when can I expect this to be taken care of? And within a couple of hours, no questions asked, they got back to me. And I was reading over the face-to-face and it didn't state anything about me needing a manual foldable wheelchair, which I thought was odd. But for kicks and giggles, I figured I'd send it along and see what came back. The wheelchair company contacts me a couple days later stating that health insurance wouldn't accept my face-to-face because my face-to-face didn't state anything about me needing a manual foldable wheelchair. And I was angry, but not at them. I was angry at myself because I sent along the paperwork even though it was invalid. I explained the situation that I go out of state for my care, and I said, is there any way that my physical medicine or rehab doctor can write in there that I need a manual foldable wheelchair and then send it back? And they said no, because my face-to-face is older than 30 days and health insurance won't take a face-to-face that's older than 30 days. So at this point I'm like, okay, what would you do if you were me? And they said, I'd recommend going through your primary care physician if you have one. I'm like, yep, I do. So I went back to the primary care doctor, and the primary care physician and everything took care of me. He did a way better job than my PMR did and got the paperwork to them ASAP. Because I had met with him on December 28th, but by the time the company I was using was able to obtain and process the paperwork, it was the new year. And everything resets itself in the new year, health insurance wise, including durable medical equipment balances and deductibles. But for me it didn't matter because we co-bred our insurance in August and everything reset itself then. And then I still went forth with the process, and the company said that they weren't sure if Anthem was going to cover it or not. And if so, it was going to be a rent-to-own basis where you may or may not pay a little chunk of money every month for 10 months. And then afterwards, you get to keep it. I'm like, oh boy. So I started looking into special needs equipment swaps, and there was one in my area, but they didn't have a manual foldable wheelchair, and they said the best thing to do is to contact them every day to see if they had one. And it was like, I need this now. So I ultimately just ended up deciding to go on Amazon and buy it. I'm gonna be creating an ideas board and I will link that in there, but she is here. Her name is Wanda, but it was a process, and I thank you guys for being on this journey with me, and I can't wait to see you guys again soon. Bye!